Hey, it's Edwin Proper from Proper Growth, and the next speaker from the 2025 summit is Giorgio Piccoli. His whole team work remotely all over the world, and he shares his secrets to bringing a team together using lean principles. At the end of this video, I also share a short interview with Giorgio speaking about the remote coordinator role.
My name is Giorgio Piccoli from the US, and I'm the president of American Flat. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about remote lean. So let's get started. What if I told you that I had a secret to improving work-life balance, cutting overhead, improving productivity, and also decreasing employee turnover, all without having a physical office? Now, some of you might say that's too good to be true. But for others, it's the future of work. And for some of us, it's already here. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you guys through exactly how we got here, the challenges that we faced in building an incredible remote culture, and also the vision that we have for remote work in the future. Now, when some of us think about lean specifically, we think about a factory floor, or a daily stand-up. It's something that you can feel and touch in real time. You can see improvements as you walk the floor. So what happens when your company doesn't have an office at all and your team is 100% remote working from home? I can tell you now that not only can you have a better remote culture when you can have a better culture when you're working remote, but it can also be better than being in an office in many respects. Now, over the last year, we've been able to give back to our employees almost 9.4 days every year simply by eliminating the commute. So if you calculate everything here, this is 9.4 days that our employees can spend with their families, walking their kids to school, and also just simply breathing at home. But the thing that I really want to emphasize is that none of this happened overnight. And this was a real journey for us in our company. So when COVID happened, we had an office in New York and we were about 11 people. And in March of 2020, we sent everybody home and we began working at home. We were in a very interesting position because we were working in an industry that had a lot of demand during this time, and that's home decor. And so basically overnight, our sales doubled. And so we really needed to hire people, and we needed to hire people really fast. The thing that was really great about this particular time is we were able to hire people in all sorts of different geographies and people who were very, very capable. But the challenge really at this point was just managing everybody. We had a lot of missed deadlines. We had so many project delays. The work was just getting very, very challenging, and the team was really capable, but it was just very, very difficult to manage people. We realized that we couldn't go back into the office, partly because half our team now was located in places like Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, all around the world. And so the logistics of the situation made it so it just wasn't possible for us to go back into an office. So we had to come up with a solution, and we had to come up with a solution very fast. And personally, as a business owner, I was just putting out fires all day. It was just very, very challenging. It wasn't scalable and it wasn't sustainable. And it was kind of around this time that I discovered 2-second lean, and it changed everything for us. So at first, when I presented the idea of lean to our management team, our management team was like, well, we don't run a factory. Like, how is this actually going to help us? But I really wanted to emphasize to them that even though we don't manufacture physical things, there's a lot of things that we do manufacture. For example, there's product listings, there's financial models, all the accounting work that we do, and also the logistics strategies that we have. All of these are processes, and they're all processes that can be improved. And so after convincing the management team that this was a really good idea, we got to work. And so we started with a virtual morning meeting that we have to this day, every day. Cameras on, everybody is present. We start the day every day with a stretch. It was definitely awkward at first, but every meeting that we have really builds trust amongst the team. After that, so this is the stretch. So we stretch with Lizzie. Lizzie is a lady in Australia. She has 2 minute moves. We have 2 second leans. So there's a lot of similarities there. And so here are some of the things that we really do differently from everyone. A lot of remote teams have their cameras that are completely off all the time. We make sure that cameras are on all the time because then that element really builds trust with everybody on the team. We also make sure that everybody has noise canceling headphones. Why? Because when you are remote and there's dogs in the background and snow blowers and all sorts of other things, audio quality isn't a luxury, it's an absolute necessity. We also make sure that all of our meetings are recorded, and we use a program called Loom, if some of you are familiar with that. All of our meetings are recorded, and because we can't expect everybody to be awake at 2 o'clock in the morning. It just doesn't make sense. We have people in all sorts of different time zones. And also, when we record meetings, everybody in the company has access to the exact same information all the time. And it's all saved in our Notion database, which I'll explain a little bit later. And now, one of the things that we have that's most interesting is we're actually incorporating AI into a lot of our everyday products. And so the fact that the meetings are recorded, we can download a transcript right now, spit out key notes from the meeting and all the follow-up items, and it really makes things very easy for everybody. And so that's kind of like lean thinking powered by AI. So we're recording the meeting, full meeting notes in seconds. So what are some of the other things that we do differently? We also have a role that's very specific to our company called the remote coordinator. And her job is to make sure that all the communication throughout the company is very clear, that the meetings are well attended, and that absolutely nothing in the company falls through the cracks. So she's kind of like the glue that binds our team together. And right now, one of the things that we really emphasize is we're attracting global talent that would be very difficult for them to be able to work into an office. So, for example, like we hire a lot of working moms who are very capable, but may need a more flexible schedule. We hire a lot of digital nomads, people who want to be have the flexibility to be able to travel. I guess I would put myself in that category also. And so we've been able to really make some amazing improvements in our business by lowering our overhead to a fraction of what our competitors pay. And we also operate the business 24 hours a day. And so that means that someone somewhere all the time is working for American Flat. And then that is sort of the daily rhythm that we have that binds our company together. So, but what I'm really most excited about is our vision for the future of work and for remote work. So by 2030, we want to be the premier global leader in remote work culture. Many times when you have a remote team, they don't really have a culture. They haven't really thought about it. We really want to be the standard and have everybody come to us and say, you know what, this is how it's done. Our remote culture, like I mentioned before, I believe is also very uniquely positioned to be able to incorporate a lot of the AI tools that are coming out and that will be coming out in the near future to be able to make work a lot easier. And also the visibility that we have in our Notion database, just all the meetings that are recorded, all the SOPs that we have, everything is documented and transcribed specifically within our Notion database. And so all aspects of these meetings and the work product that we have is something that any manager really would look at and be like, wow, that's really amazing that these guys have been able to create this. And so one of the other cool things that we have right now is actually we're building AI agents to perform a lot of the work that some of our other employees that are currently doing some of the work right now, especially like in demand planning and some marketing functions and things like that, because we have all of this information and all of this visibility directly within the company. So I'm very, very excited about how AI and remote work are going to be able to combine kind of forces in the future. So I want to add with just one more thing at the end of my talk. I want to invite all of you guys to our morning meeting. It's 9 o'clock every morning. It's not today because today's Labor Day in the US, but 9 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. There's no travel, no jet lag required. You're welcome to come to our morning meeting so you guys can see exactly how being very intentional with our remote culture has really produced incredible results for our business. So thank you.
Questions?
Are there any questions?
First of all, Giorgio, amazing that you're doing that so outside the box compared to what everybody else is thinking. So that's really good, especially the cultural aspects of building a culture remotely. Who would even think you could do that? But that is an important aspect. Were there questions?
Sean, the United States. So you mentioned some of the people are only watching the replay at 2 because it's not reasonable to ask them to get up at 2 in the morning. How does the morning meeting still build trust with those people, and how do you engage with them?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, so saying that we have actually one morning meeting is actually not true. We actually have two morning meetings now. So we have one morning meeting, which is Eastern Standard Time, which everybody from North and South America and Europe attend. And then we also have one in Asia too, which is around 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time. And that's the China, the Japan team, and also people in Australia. So we previously only had one, and then it was a little bit complicated. But over time we were able to incorporate two different morning meetings. We have about 50 people on one morning meeting in Eastern Time, and then we have about 10 people on the Asia side morning meeting right now. So the morning meeting is everybody is attending, so everyone is at the morning meeting. But if we have a meeting, for example, like let's say we're talking about our expansion plans in Japan, right? I may not be able to attend that meeting because it's the Japan team and also the US team. I may be sleeping, but I can wake up in the next day and I have an alert that shows me exactly here are the meeting notes. Here's exactly what we talked about. And then I can comment and I can make some specific comments specifically on that meeting. And I know exactly what happened, basically. So
Very impressive system. How many countries? How many countries do you have people in? How many countries?
I actually don't know, but we have 5 people in Africa, for example.
Wow.
Like we have people in every single continent except for Antarctica.
And how many total people do you have?
We have 75 people right now.
Wow, very impressive.
Yeah. So
Wow.
50 people
What a
attend the
model.
morning meeting, and then
We can all learn from you. That's really impressive.
When you think about value and non-value in a remote work environment, you talked about accounting processes and reports and logistics. Just talk a little bit about how you guys frame that in a remote work environment.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Because you think value is when a product actually changes, right? So I think that a lot of what we are focused on is eliminating those non-value added activities, right? So how do we improve? Like we talk a lot about the 8 deadly wastes, right? Every morning we're reciting the 8 wastes, and the 8 wastes are a little bit different in a remote environment, right? So it's like, how many keystrokes do I have to do? How many logins do I have to do? Is this actually efficient for the rest of the team? So you have to change your mindset. But I do believe that it's an exercise that all the employees need to have. They need to be like, okay, how is this adding transportation? How is this adding motion? How are we eliminating these defects and things like that? So there's all sorts of different ways that we're incorporating the 8 deadly wastes specifically in a remote environment.
Abraham, New Zealand. Just a question. Obviously, you've come from an in-person office and then gone to online remote work. How have you found the contrast of productivity? You mentioned people working from home, there's kids and stuff going on. Have you noticed that there has been a decrease in productivity and you're just okay with that? Or how have you navigated the challenges of, not being away from your at-home environment?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think about it kind of in 2 ways. I mean, one is if you have a very big company, for example, like let's say like Disney, right? So if you're running a huge company, you have people remote all over the place, right? So you really have to make specific goals for the business, and you need to really manage by having specific results for the business. So are you actually working at home all the time? I mean, maybe not, but you have to set specific goals and have very strong leaders and also a very strong culture to be able to get the most or the best out of people in the specific business. And yeah, I mean, we have amazing people all over the world. I can't think about how to like micromanage like, 10 10 people. That was the business that I previously ran. This is a much more expansive and global enterprise that I have. So I need to be thinking about it a little bit more as like an executive as opposed to specifically like, okay, how am I managing the 5 or 10 people that are in my physical vicinity?
Can I repeat what you just said? In my vernacular would be, you set a goal or an expectation on which you think they should be able to get done, and they have to get it done. You don't micromanage how much time they're spending to get it done.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the way that I like to do it is I like to have them come up with the goal. And then what I do is I work with them to say, is this reasonable? Is this not reasonable? But yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Will and then Abe. Okay, make sure you say your name.
Okay, yeah, Clint Adams from the U.S. My question is, what cultural things are you looking for as you're hiring people specific kind of for what you're trying to do?
Good question.
That's a very good question. I mean, the thing with having a specific culture, and this is something that was like very difficult for me to understand when I first started becoming a business leader, I guess you could say, is you can't actually touch the culture. You can't really measure the culture in an actual like numerical way. And so this was like a very difficult thing specifically for me. But now it's very easy to tell who on our team is a good cultural fit and who is not, simply by incorporating a cultural methodology, 2-second lean, or incorporating lean within our business. There are some very specific things that we do look for. I mean, a lot of that is also like fluency with certain technology. Right now, it's being like, what type of AI tools are you using? But really, a lot of those things, if you're open and willing to learn about them, we'll teach you within the business. In our morning meeting right now, we have a couple of different things that we do. I mean, we share our improvements. We read a passage from a lean text. But now we also have a new section called AI in Action, where someone will explain, okay, this is what I've learned with AI. Here, I'm teaching everybody else on the team. And so we want to see improvements that are happening with AI kind of in real time, because I feel like the business owner sometimes is using a lot of AI, but then sometimes other people are like, I don't know if I really want to use this, or is AI taking my job, or something kind of along those lines. So those are some of the things that we really are encouraging when we say like AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows how to use AI is going to come take your job. So we want that to be you, you know.
So a learning, basically what you said to start off with, a learning attitude. You're looking for people that want to learn and improve is number one.
100%.
And then it's important that they have the technical skills. They have some technical aptitude.
Yep.
Using AI, technically how to navigate.
Yep.
Giorgio, Federico from Argentina. One question about sometimes improvements happen as a team, no? And maybe a little gathering and the discussion, the idea comes and the solution comes. How do you manage that to happen in your environment?
That's a very good question. I think one of the biggest challenges that I've noticed with remote teams is they are sometimes very siloed within their own specific organization. So for example, the finance team will only talk to finance. The merchandising team will only talk to the merchandising department. And that creates a lot of problems. And then, so the ways that we solve this are really kind of twofold. One, we incorporated this remote coordinator specific role that doesn't exist in most other businesses. And so that's been very, very impactful in terms of creating cross-functional communication so that everybody knows what's actually going on. And the second thing is actually the 3S time that we have. So we really encourage 3S within your specific department, but also cross-functional 3S. So people are talking amongst themselves. So I think that's like the biggest thing in terms of like, how do you actually come up with and how do you solve specific problems? But I think if people are aware of where all the wastes are, they're more capable of coming up with different solutions because they are already practiced in doing some of those things in terms of solving the specific problem. So did I answer your question?
Thank you. Hey, Giorgio. By the way, Pablo, Andrew Clark, UK. This is a great profile for the set. Remote working for me is a thing that you and I both share, Pablo, because we've got engineers on the road, got people remote. As I explained to Giorgio last evening, is that I've got three questions for you. Sorry, Giorgio. First one is engagement. So are you encouraging engagement with the remote workers during the morning meeting set? How important is the stretching for you? Because this is one thing I haven't yet incorporated within my morning meetings. I've got a little bit of your syndrome, Murray, that you had in the call session. My guys are like frightened to the hell out of them about doing the stretching for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm going to do that thing. And then the cameras on element is also quite interesting for me because we got quite a few people sit kind of in the background, don't participate too much. But I'm going to definitely implement that when I get back. But both from mine and Pablo's point of view is that the remote workers, Pablo, do your guys engage in the morning meeting when they're out on sites or whatever? It's a kind of a dual question. Sorry.
No, we haven't solved that yet. They participate while we are installing projects. They participate showing what they do, and we have a tool. When they finish, you can have all the information for improvements. But since they are driving or moving, it's not easy to connect them just in the moment when we have the morning meeting. So we take some things. So we make them part of the team, showing the how they are working with pictures they post on our chat group, and then we have a file in which they can all input data on how they finish their work. And on our morning meeting, we respect what they did last day. That's how we solve it.
So if you came to our morning meeting, you would see a ton of engagement. One of the issues that we have is a lot of that is very top heavy, right? So there's about 10 people, for example, in the US morning meeting that are very, very active. And then we have a couple of people who are not as active. What I'm trying to do now in the very near future is really try to get actually just call on people. So we have a different person host every day for the morning meeting. It's a completely different person. And we're going to have that person actually call on some people to have a little bit more engagement. I think it's a little bit of a push versus a pull, but I think it's a good way to kind of get started in terms of having a little more engagement, because I think people are a little bit shy and maybe not participating necessarily as much in terms of talking in a large morning meeting. They may get a little bit camera shy. So, yeah.
Andrew, I've attended 2 of his morning meetings, and I can say that, they've improved dramatically. And one of the things I noticed is some people, there has to be clear standards. And so the noise canceling microphone is a huge deal. That I couldn't hear half the people in the beginning. I said, man, you got to standardize all this stuff. The communication's got to be good. People's cameras, one person's head was at the bottom of the screen, one person's head was at the top. I was like, everybody get their head in the center of the screen. This is where I'm going with you now. You cannot have anybody standing in the background in a morning meeting. Everybody needs to be in the same circle. There can be no people behind or in front. There can be no isolation. And then we'll go to Marie's talk. There has to be clear behavioral standards that everyone operates. Everyone's together. Everyone participates. Everyone's got to be called on. In our morning meeting, we deliberately call on people who are quiet. Those quiet people become more extroverted. They're more comfortable. You have to be very deliberate about all this. You cannot let anything just happen by happenstance. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And it's and the noise can't. Also, the other thing is with the mute button as well. So if you're in the morning meeting, we ask everybody to be on mute, and then you can get off mute to contribute. But if you're in a smaller meeting, everyone's off mute all the time, because you always have someone who's like inevitably talking, and then you don't hear them. You're like, you're on mute. That's a very big like flow disruption that we have.
Plus waste of time. Yeah.
It's a total waste of time. It's like, you're on mute. And then they have to kind of go back. Everybody's off mute. You have noise canceling headphones. You shouldn't be able to hear anything that's in the background of where they are. So we've been very kind of strict with that specific standard, even before we discovered 2-second lean. But the noise canceling headphones is really a game changer.
Definitely going to adopt that. The stretching, how important that is that to you guys with the remote workers?
Oh yeah, we do stretching for everybody. I mean, even if I'm in a coffee shop, I'll start stretching. People look at me weird. I mean, personally, I don't care, but we do. I mean, we have pretty much 100% participation. At the end of the morning meeting, we actually rate the team on their participation. So everybody wants to be able to get a 10. So we ask everybody to be able to participate as much as possible.
Set the expectation, inspect the expectation, celebrate the expectation over and over again.
Sorry, can I just add something to, sorry, it's Edwin from Australia. What you don't understand is stretching is so important. And I've said this before in my videos, is that when you stretch, when you are mimicking, you're creating a bond because oxytocin is being released. And so you're actually creating trust. And if you don't have trust, you can't build a culture.
Beautiful.
So that's why it's so important to stretch. So leaders that are like that, people are always going to say, no, I don't want to stretch. It's uncomfortable because there's no trust. You have to be a leader who says, stretch or out.
Completely agree.
You got to commit. This is how we do it.
That's great. That's great. And funny enough, the person who leads our stretching, Lizzie, she's Australian and she has 2-minute moves. And she actually came to one of the meetings and it was like a huge hit. Everybody was like, it's like Ryan Gosling showed up or something. So anyway.
You know what's cool in Japan, because we learned this whole stretching thing from Japan, is you can sit in your hotel room on the 25th floor and look down at a job site anywhere in Japan, and there's a morning meeting going on, and everybody is stretching.
Yeah.
Countrywide.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Just on the stretching, Giorgio, what I found, and for you too, Andy, because when we started the morning meetings, we didn't do the stretching and we didn't do the gratitude. We slowly introduced those, but we took a lot of people to see other sites or other places practicing 2-second lean. So when we did introduce the stretching, it wasn't foreign. So that helps. And of course, with all the videos now, it's great. But I had a question for you. It's so interesting, your topic. Do you schedule formal icebreaker sessions? So like quiz nights or I don't know, just to try and create a bit of a connection? Because
I honestly, I really believe that the morning meeting allows us to create a strong connection with all the people on the team, especially the sections with gratitude, because then people are sharing things that are in their everyday lives and things that are very important, I'd say. And it's also very interesting what people are sharing across different cultures. So someone in the Philippines or someone in Venezuela may share something completely different. And you learn so much about those different cultures. It's a really great opportunity to be able to share those things in different cultures. We have people in Pakistan and all around the world. So so I think that's probably the best place. We have done different events in the past. The company that we were working with was charging us a little bit too much, so I decided to cancel it. But we do some different activities, and we've had people on the team actually run some of the activities as well. And we had one for like baby photos and things like that. So guess who the employee is, who is with the baby photo and things kind of along those lines. But in terms of actually building a culture, really the morning meeting is the most impactful thing. The other things are really kind of just like a bonus and things like that. So yeah.
More from the US. So often I will stop someone who comes to me with a problem and just be like, cool, let's go and see. So how do you do that type of coaching, that shoulder to shoulder coaching and problem solving in a remote work environment?
That's a very good question. So what we do specifically beyond the 3S portion of the morning meeting, we also are very focused on doing Gemba walks. And Gemba walks are just completely different in a remote environment. What we'll do is we'll say, hey, why don't you do a screen share and show me exactly what your process is? And so we'll actually see and spend time with people and be like, okay, this is what your process is. These are the steps that you're actually doing. And once you actually see the amount of work that they're doing, sometimes you're like, wow, these processes can 100% be improved. We're going to make your job so much easier so that you can actually focus on the work that actually matters. So I would say, like, as opposed to actually like going there and trying to see what the issue is, it's like, oh, why don't we do a screen share, right? Or why don't we actually see what your process is and kind of understand it a little bit better, as opposed to someone just kind of telling me what this specific issue is. So, and we track a lot of that stuff. We see how many Gemba walks we've done in a week, for example. We call them Gemba walks, but we know it's in a remote setting. But also the 3S portions too. And there you're getting a little bit more feedback from more people on the team. And also Gemba walks are a great leadership tool. So for example, I may do a Gemba walk. So we may have like a very junior person who has an issue. His manager will specifically speak with him, and then I'll be on the Gemba walk as well. And so it's a really great opportunity also to develop the manager as well, specifically. So those are some of the things that we've been that we've been doing. Train.
Giorgio, I've got another question.
Yes.
So Edwin from Australia. So a lot of companies have teams that start on different times. Obviously, with everybody all over the place, they got to agree on a certain time.
Yeah.
How did you get to agree on that, and how did it not interrupt flow? Because you're busy starting something, and now I got to do a meeting. How do you get over that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, we really picked the 9 a.m. because most of the people are kind of on the Eastern Standard Time zone, I would say. But then we also, the thing was on Mondays, we had meetings that were in the afternoon, so not everybody could attend. But it was only actually, we had one colleague in Australia, and that was the most difficult time zone to be able to get onto our morning meeting. And so then we decided to have the Asia Pacific morning meeting, and then also the U.S. sort of U.S. time zone morning meeting, America's morning meeting. So I mean, I do think that it is a little bit of an interruption, perhaps like throughout the day, but really it lasts only about 15 minutes, and it's a really great opportunity to be able to have everybody together. If we didn't have that, people would start, whatever time, who knows when people are starting, they're doing their work, maybe they're not doing their work. The way that we started out is so much different than the way that we are right now. Like having that morning meeting is like so essential for us in terms of grounding the team, I would say, and like understanding that we are a team together as opposed to just individual people working at home.
My response on that would be, Edwin, there are always going to, and Paul from the US, so I keep the standard. My response is there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be difficulties. The key is you need to just keep trying things until you find something that works more effectively than what you're currently doing, and keep improving on it, because it's just always going to be tough. There's always going to be those things where I don't want to do it now. Well, we have to do it sometime, and we're going to do it now, and we'll improve upon it as we come up with better solutions.
100%.
Gaston, Argentina.
My question is, in remote employment, sometimes people tend to have more than one job. Does it affect you in any way?
Yeah. I mean, we tell people when they start that they can't have more than one job. In some instances, we hire specifically just freelancers, and so that they do have more than one job. I think it would be in terms of like the amount of workload that we have and that we put on our people, it's very clear if they have more than one job. I don't think that you can manage more than one. I mean, maybe some sort of like part-time things, but at the end of the day, it's really about the work that you're delivering to our business, and we're going to pay you to work our business. And we're not asking just 9 hours. We're asking for like really good quality, thought-provoking work that we're asking you to do. And so that's really the most important thing, I would say. So maybe in some instances that actually does occur, but I think it would be very difficult over the long term to be able to maintain multiple jobs if you were working specifically for us. So we try to get the best of both worlds. But yeah.
Max from Argentina. I would like to learn a little more about how do you implement 5S? How important is for you? How long does it take? And mainly, how do you do 5S in a remote team? And you can explain a little more about that.
Yeah, we don't do 5S specifically. We do 3S, is what we call sweep, sort, standardize. What we do is after the morning meeting is over, everybody goes to a different room, and we have a very specific criteria of the things that we're 3Sing over the course of the week. So that could be just working on SOPs or updating SOPs, or that could be working with a few colleagues across functionally or within your specific team to make improvements in a specific process within that team. And then that makes things so much easier because it's time that's not spent specifically on your work. It's time specifically spent improving your work, right? So it's time that you can understand like exactly how work works, basically. And that makes things so much easier and so much smoother over the course of the year. Everybody knows exactly kind of like what's going on, and it's really planning it out and making sure that everyone is working either within their team or cross functionally. It's usually the best way to do it. And ours last about half an hour, more or less. So we do about 15 minutes the morning meeting up until 9:45 is the 3S time, and then you're cut loose to work on meetings, have external meetings, things along those lines. So,
Paul, Giorgio, I have a question. Why are you so committed to lean?
I mean, I have really seen how lean has transformed our business. It's just made my job a lot easier.
Okay.
And I think that it's made the job of a lot of our employees so much easier. And that has really been very inspiring for me. And it's also just amazing to see people really develop and to grow. We have different challenges because of the way that our business is structured. And so incorporating lean within our business has been really transformational. Like our operational things have gotten much better. Our product development process.
So the answer is it works.
It works. Yes, I would say that it works. And even this year, last year we had a absolutely terrific year. It was probably the best year actually in the history of the company from a top line revenue perspective and also from a profit perspective. This year has been much more challenging because we import a lot of products. And I don't think that we would have been able to get through this year if we hadn't adopted lean last year. So
interesting.
Yeah,
so good for hard times.
It's very good for hard times. Yeah,
right. An extraordinary business model, extraordinary leadership, and very deliberate. I want to point this out to you. As a leader, he's very deliberate about what he's trying to get done, and I think that's very notable for all of us. More questions?
Hey, New Zealand. Typically in a physical business, as Pablo shared before, there can be like a roster and a map for 3Sing and people going into different areas. Do you have some type of system for that remotely where, at a team level, people are cross, sharing their spaces or workflow remotely?
Yeah, I would say that the best thing that we've come up with is just planning your 3Ss throughout the week. So we've had times where it's like, oh, let's 3S. And it's like, oh, what do we want on 3S? It's a little bit of wasted time. If you're planning things out throughout the week, in the beginning of the week and asking leaders to plan things out throughout the week, it makes things a lot easier. So yeah, so I would say that like planning is probably the most important thing. And then just doing it. If you get a bunch of people, very smart people together and honestly, like we've been able to hire some amazing people because they really value the flexibility. So it really helps. And now if they have like a remote working job, but then they also have a remote working job with a culture that's very intentional, people really respond very, very well to that.
I have a question for you. When you were in Japan, your company is completely juxtaposed to Mifune, who makes parts for Toyota. Did you learn anything or take anything away from walking on Mifune's plant and seeing Mr. Imamura's company?
I mean, I think that like learning about the processes, right? The same principles really apply to our business. So it's really like the processes, what type of people we have on the team, how do we create really amazing products? Those I think are the most important things that I kind of took. So it's like, okay, maybe I'm reducing a hand movement here, but how does that translate for our business, right? How do we reduce the amount of time that it takes to actually do something? Do we have really good SOPs? If something is taking a very, very long time, or if there's some sort of unevenness within our business, like we have a lot of unevenness in our business. Purchase orders, for example, we have too much inventory at certain times, too little inventory. So if everyone's really aware of these things, like the business just operates in so much of a better way because people are finding improvements, people are doing things. So it's not an actual physical office, but like I mentioned before, like we do manufacture a lot of things. Like, I mean, we have almost 2,500 products that we sell right now. And so we have to have a listing for all of them. Now we're doing a little bit of a rebrand for a couple of our products. So we have to just do new images. All of those things are processes that can be improved. So how long does it take to get an image? How long does this take? Who do we have the right people on the team? Things kind of along those lines.
When you saw Mifune running smooth and like a clock, you said, we need to run smooth like a clock in what we're doing, even though you weren't stamping steel parts.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like I mentioned to you before, like even just like the operational problems that we had before lean, now people are, if there is a big issue that we have, people are like, oh, I'm going to go and solve that problem. Or why does that issue actually exist, as opposed to me trying to solve that problem. That's the way the business operated before. I had to come up with the ideas, and I was really exhausted. Now the team is the one who's coming up with the solutions to a lot of the
best answer so far. Beautiful. Okay, amazing job, Rick.
Well, I want to talk about a unique role that we have. It's called the remote coordinator. So her job is to make sure that communication across the company is clear, nothing slips through the cracks, and meetings are all well attended. So the way I like to think about it is like the glue that binds our company together. So it's a unique role, doesn't exist in a lot of other businesses, but because we're remote, we need someone to make sure that everything remote is all coordinated together. It's a small amount of overhead that really makes the rest of the business super easy to operate.
What does that role look like?
So basically her job is to make sure that we have a strict set of meetings, our Notion pages are organized, all the SOPs are up to date, making sure that all the communication across the organization is very clear. She even writes a weekly newsletter. But the thing is that we do is we basically take information from all the individual meetings, summarize them, and then publish the weekly newsletter so that everybody can read it and information is super clear.
What made you realize that you need this position?
Yeah, we were having the main issue that we have with the remote teams is the fact that everything is very siloed. So you may operate directly within your team, but a team needs to operate cross-functionally. And so I was like, well, how do we create that sort of cross-functional communication that you normally would have in an office? And so we were able to have this specific role in order to compensate for the fact that we are remote. We actually don't pay for an office every month. So we are able to have a little bit more overhead to be able to compensate for that specific role. And it seems to be working.